It's about to get Gabby AF.
We about to get Gabby AF, Gabby AF. We about to get Gabby AF, Gabby AF. It's nothing less, cause you rocking with the best. Now we about to get Gabby AF.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Gabby AF. I'm so excited to talk to you guys today. So much to talk about, so much to get into. So I had to bring along one of my dearest, bestest friends in the world. Great with technology, awesome on video, one of my favorite people, Tommy Dreamer. Thomas, how are you today?
I am wonderful. Not sure if I like this view. I don't know if everyone watching this will enjoy the up the nose double chin shot.
You look great.
Tommy Dreamer. I'm trying to make this nice by adding. I have some box that I think Sirius gave me, then my laptop that wouldn't do whatever streaming device you wanted me to do because it's quite old, and then my phone, you made me download things on my brand new phone, which I hate enough.
Yes.
So yeah, we're doing all right.
Did you have to put any passwords in? Are you okay on the password front?
I gave all my passwords to a Nigerian prince. I'm going to be a billionaire real soon.
Still, my favorite thing about you is the fact that you know 0 of your passwords. And you would, this is true story, by the way, when I was your producer, I would get calls asking like, so Gabby, what's the password for this? And I'm like, I have my own password for that because it's personal. And you'd be like, all right, well, will your password work for me? And I'm like, no, Tommy, it's your email. It's your business email. You need your own password. And then
what about when I called
Yes.
you and I said, no, but what is my email? I've never opened it. I don't know my actual email.
And didn't you call to get it? And they were like, you've had it for 5 years and you've never used it. And you were like, yeah, I don't.
Yeah, they were flabbergasted at Sirius. I still haven't opened my emails there.
Don't tell anyone it's
I don't know how many years I've been there.
I don't think any of them are listening to this, so they don't have to know. I won't tell any of them.
That's fine.
But yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I know I kind of called you inaudible, but there's a lot to talk about. And I wanted to talk about it with someone that, you know, I appreciate your opinion, and we always have fun when we talk pro wrestling. We talk a lot during the week anyway and kind of talk pro wrestling. So why not do it on the podcast and let everyone else know all the shit that we talk? You know what I mean? I feel like this is a gift to my Gabby AF listeners. I'm super excited to have you.
And so everybody knows Gabby is in my phone as Crazy Gabby. And sadly enough, I have 8 crazies in my phone.
How many Z's? Just one Z in the crazy?
It's Crazy Gabby. I have Crazy Gabby, Crazy Lisa, who is Victoria.
Love her.
Crazy Steve, Super Crazy, Crazy Ivan. I have a lot of crazies in my name. But you're like, you and Lisa are the top 2 crazies.
We weren't supposed to tell people that I'm crazy, Tommy. I don't know why you have to start the show by letting people know.
I think your listeners kind of know this.
I don't think I'm crazy, though. I think
that's what a true crazy person thinks.
I mean,
that person walking down the street having a full conversation with themselves, they're normal.
Please. You're crazier than me.
I'm out of my mind.
Yes.
I get it.
Yes.
But we have discussed this. I'm an idiot savant when it comes to pro wrestling.
Ooh,
I'm crazy about wrestling.
Yeah.
And I have no other good redeeming qualities or life skills outside of the world that I choose to live in.
Well, you're a great sports fan, I would say.
Yes, I am. But we're all wearing our Mets hats today.
Yeah, by the way, I wore a Mets hat originally, and then Tommy had to put his on, so this was not planned. I don't usually match with my guests. It's just kind of one of those things that happen. Tommy might halfway through put on a different hat. I don't know. He's got a lot. He has way more hats than me.
49ers, Chiefs, who's ever in the Super Bowl. All my favorite teams.
Don't get me started on this. I'm pissed. And
why?
First of all, and we're going to get into wrestling. We're going to talk Royal Rumble, a lot of cool stuff happening. But I said, I think it was like my first podcast ever. I said in October, I said, mark it right now. Chiefs will be in the Super Bowl no matter what. The NFL is going to make sure that the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl. I don't care what happens. I don't care if they're the best team. I don't care anything. They're going to be in the Super Bowl. I was 100% correct. I'm sorry. The NFL was not going to let that slide, and that opportunity of having Taylor Swift at the Super Bowl and not making sure that happens. I think that I think the Bills blew it. I think the Ravens blew it. I don't think the Chiefs won. I think the Ravens lost in that game, to be quite honest. I don't know what the fuck they were doing. They did not look good at all. It was not the team that we had seen the whole season. And I'm so over the Chiefs at this point. I am rooting for the 49ers so hard that it's probably why they'll lose, is because I want them to win, because, that's just my life. But I'm Team Bailey, and I want San Francisco to pull through for the Super Bowl. Listen, everything's pro wrestling.
I was going to say you see when you were in my phone as normal Gabby, that was before wrestling took over.
Yeah.
And then now you're like, oh, they're booking the rematch like they did WrestleMania. They're going to book the WrestleMania rematch.
Yeah.
So you now start thinking things differently because you are around such minds like myself, Mark Henry, Bully Ray, and you see how all these angles just kind of like start. And yes, where, I just saw something with social media wise, every clip that they show with Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, or whenever they score, it generates $300 million.
Yeah.
Think of that.
It's
300 mil.
The Bills Chiefs game was the most watched game in the NFL in history. In history. Like, that to me is for how long the NFL's been around, that's like a crazy stat for me. It's great for business. I understand why they're doing it. I think it's all PR bullshit, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, Patrick Mahomes is the next Tom Brady in the sense of how do you bet against the guy? He's had a lot of success early on and continues. How do you bet against the Chiefs in the playoffs? It's very, very hard, even with the whole Taylor Swift factor.
Yeah, listen, I get it, and it's bringing new eyes to the product. Now people are watching that have never watched before. It's doing great things for Travis Kelce. People that didn't know who he was now just love him. Basically, that podcast with Jason and Travis, they're like the new Mannings. They're just, everyone knows who they are. They're super beloved. Their podcast is like insanely successful. I love Jason Kelce. I think him and Kylie are like an amazing couple. I'm very into them as a couple. I just think that I'm just so over it. And I could sound pessimistic. People are like, you don't love love. Like, I don't mind love. Like, why are you laughing at me? Because people say, why are you smiling?
Because people have boyfriends and girlfriends.
Yeah, fuck that. You know what I mean?
Gabby hates everyone.
No. I love love. If you're happy, you're happy. I just think it's bullshit. And I think it distracts from football. And I think that there's a lot happening because of it.
Who's Jason Kelce dating?
So Jason Kelce is married to Kylie Kelce, and they have 3 daughters.
Oh, okay, that's what I thought.
But she's like a very normal, doesn't like the spotlight kind of person. She was like a communications major. They met on Tinder, which I love a good Tinder meeting story. I'm not even on Tinder anymore. I didn't even know that. That's like a creepy one now. Tinder's not good anymore. There's a lot of other apps that are better. But they met on Tinder, and she's very like, doesn't like the spotlight. She like watches the game. She says, I like to watch with the fans in the stands. I'm not a suite person. Like, I don't like to sit up in the suite. And she's like, wears no makeup. She wears like a t-shirt and like, she's so chill. And that's like a down ass bitch. Like that's the girl that, you know what I mean? She's just cool. She's been on their podcast a couple of times. I just really, really like her. I don't buy into the whole thing that like Taylor, she doesn't like the cameras being on her. Like, please, like, what are you showing up and like in all the stuff for? Like, I just think you're Taylor Swift, you're a billionaire. If you don't want the cameras on you, or you really don't want that to happen, like it wouldn't happen, or you would make a different kind of effort to not be seen during the games and having these over dramatic reactions every time the man scores a touchdown. It's like she's never seen a touchdown happen before.
Well, maybe she hasn't. Maybe she lives in
she's been to like 13 games. He scored more than one touchdown. It's also not like the Chiefs weren't a good team. You know what I mean?
Well, Gabby, as someone who has met Taylor Swift many, many times and knows Taylor Swift, I don't judge. Plus, you don't want the Swifties coming after your podcast. The Gabby AF will be close.
Listen, I don't dislike her. I don't know her as a person, right? She could be a very nice human being. It's not her fault. She's a very talented songwriter. A lot of people love her.
She is over.
She's very over. I like that, she is all about, girl power and stuff. That's great. I just think it's getting a little, it's getting a little much for me, but it's not their fault. The NFL is going to capitalize on what they can capitalize on. So it is what it is. I was just wanted to see a different Super Bowl. I'm not like, holy shit, the Chiefs and the Niners, this is going to be a great Super Bowl. It wasn't what I was expecting from the season. You know, I'm a Packers fan. The Packers played phenomenal against the Cowboys. I thought they actually played great against the Niners that game too, and they ended up losing, but they're finally like their old self. So like that makes me happy. Do you know what's interesting? I read this the other day. 2020 was a leap year. It was the election was going to be Biden versus Trump, and the Super Bowl was the Niners Chiefs, and it's the same exact thing in 2024. It's a leap year this year. It's going to be Biden versus Trump, and it's the Niners against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Isn't that weird?
Interesting. I guess.
Well,
I look forward to the father and son, the coach of the coach of the 49ers and the running back, Christian McCaffrey.
Oh, I love him.
Or McCaffrey.
Yeah.
His father is Ed McCaffrey, who won Super Bowl with the Denver Broncos, used to be an ex-Giant. And Kyle Shanahan was his coach, and it'll be the first time a coach and a player who won the Super Bowl and their sons on the same team. If they win, will win the Super Bowl together.
That's kind of amazing. I love that. And McCaffrey is engaged to Olivia Culpo, who is one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life. She was like Miss Universe. I don't know if you know what she looks like.
I don't know any of these things you're telling me, but okay.
I have to keep up all the pop culture for you because you won't follow it if I don't tell you.
Culture. Get your pop culture people.
Look up Olivia Culpo and you will be like, holy shit, she's one of the most beautiful women you've ever seen in your life.
Nice.
But that's just how I feel about it. But anyway, we can't talk too much football. People are probably like, are you going to talk wrestling and all? We're going to talk wrestling too. But pro wrestling is everything. Pro wrestling's in the NFL. Pro wrestling's everywhere. I bring pro wrestling in my daily life every single day. So
you should. It's worked out for me. And George Kittle, massive wrestling fan.
Love George Kittle. And I love his wife too, Claire. She's been with him since like college. She's always on the side. When I went to the Niners game, another quick story.
They had you on the field.
I was on the field right next to her. She's beautiful in person too. I love George Kittle. I think he's awesome. And you know, my number one is Nick Bosa. I think he's one of the most beautiful men I've ever seen in my life. And he's jacked. You see his thighs? They're huge.
I normally don't look at men's thighs, but okay.
I couldn't get over. Now I'll bring it into wrestling because this is also something that blows my mind. At the Royal Rumble, AJ Styles and Randy Orton are so jacked, like in that match, are so jacked, and they're like 45 years old. I don't understand how AJ looks better than he's like ever looked.
Yeah, AJ, I mean, I actually asked him that, and he was just like, I haven't drank soda in a year. I mean, he did have time off to train, but his arms and his shoulders, and AJ's a shorter guy, but he's always been in great shape, but he, you learn also, like, listen, muscle maturity, and a lot of people talk about it, right? Like, you will hit your prime, like, in your 28 to 30s, knocking on 40s when you're training all the time of muscle and muscle memory, and it's also dieting and all that stuff. And he basically said, really, for the first time in his life, he really concentrated. Or if you look at somebody like LA Knight, who's always had a good body, he said, I hired a dietitian and changed how I was already. And he's in his 40s as well.
It's crazy. I mean, it's crazy how something so small, because like I don't drink soda really, but I do feel like there are small changes you could probably do to just get like so lean. And I feel like for men, it's such a different, anytime I try to lose weight, if I do it at the same time as a guy, he's going to lose the weight twice as fast as I do, because it's just different for you guys. You guys kind of just have, I guess it's
your genetics, and also age does take a big hit into it. I have read you have to do an hour a day once you turn 40 to maintain exactly what you look like. That's just to maintain an hour of cardio a day. Don't know what it is at 50.
2 hours.
I no longer can do an hour of cardio a day. I can only do about 30 to 45 before my body starts completely shutting down. And I have an elliptical. I can't do certain things. I have a bike that I'm telling you, at the 29-minute mark, I start getting tingles all over my lower half. And I'll never forget, I was like, I'm going to go past 30 because I can never go past 30.
Yeah.
I get to 32 and I'm chugging away. And then my entire body went numb. And then all of a sudden I just went, shh, and I fell right off the bike. Jeez. It was the best.
Was that recent?
I know. It was within the last 5 years.
I don't know.
I fell. My downstairs has carpet, thank God. But I just was like, boom, and I just crashed on the floor. And I had no feeling in my lower half of my body.
That's like insanely scary.
But I got to 35 minutes of cardio.
That's all that matters at that point. You know what I mean? Like if you didn't
Exactly.
and you were numb, then it's just a waste of time altogether.
Paralysis, but I hit my number.
This is why you're crazy, Tommy. Speaking of the Rumble, I did love that 4-way match, by the way, with
Me too.
with those guys. I thought they kind of did it perfectly. I think you kind of knew Roman was going to not lose. I don't think it was the time or place to have him lose. As much as I would love to see Reigning champion, you know how I feel about him. He's my number one of all time. But for a first ever, both my Rumble picks won. I picked Bayley and I picked Cody, and I've never felt so cool in my life because I had people over to watch the Rumble. Some of my like roommates, boyfriends, friends are big wrestling fans, so they think I'm cool, and they were like all excited to come watch the Rumble. And one of them is a huge Punk fan, huge. So when we were watching it, I was like, it's going to come down to Punk Cody. It came down to Punk and Cody, and the two of us were like sitting at the edge of the couch. Like, what are you going to get if Punk wins? What are you going to get if Cody wins? And I was like, no. They were like throwing bets, and they're like, anyone want to change their bet? And I was like, no, it's going to be Cody. It's going to be Cody. And it was. So I felt, you know how cool I felt that both my picks won, because I think that's kind of makes me an expert at this point in pro wrestling.
Nice.
I wish I was a betting girl and I made like bets on DraftKings or something. I don't know if people even do that, or like a pool. I never do that because I'm never right and I never win anything. And I wish I did this year. I was super happy with, I thought both Rumbles were fucking awesome. I love that they started with the women's. I thought the women's was super entertaining. And honestly, you know, we talked about it at the end of the Rumble, and I want to get your take on this too. Not really a lot of legends and surprises. And I don't think they even needed that. Whereas some in the past, that's been like a big highlight. I think they got the people over that they did want to get over that didn't win, like a Jade, like a Braun Breaker. I think that did the job for them. What was your take on? Obviously, Jordan was a great highlight for TNA. I thought she looked amazing, so good, and that made me happy for her. What was your take on Bayley and Cody coming out victorious at the Rumble?
If I dissect both Rumbles individually, the women's Rumble, if you talk about, it hasn't been around for a long, long time.
Yeah.
The first two, I believe, were very, very surprise-centric because the division and the importance of it needed it to get over. Now, there was, I think, and if I could just summarize both Royal Rumbles, by design, I feel were the best for not so much the moments, but no one could predict who was going to win except for Gabby. But there was plausible why this person could win, from, you know, Bayley, who else was it? Anybody. Nia Jax, Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair,
Naomi.
Jade. All these people could win. Well, Naomi was a surprise, so no one could predict her. But, well, she wasn't a surprise for me, but I know how to keep a secret. So what I'm saying is, for the Royal Rumble, it's always, here comes the person. What's the surprise? What are they going to do to maximize their moments? And when I say moments, you have about, it was a 90-second Rumble. You have about 50 seconds by the time you get to the ring to make an impact. Some people just quickly do what they're supposed to do, and then they're stuck with time because then what is everybody waiting for? 10, 9, 8. That's a big part of the Rumble, was always who's going to get in and what's going to be their moment. But I think this one was, for both men and women, who is going to win, which is great because, like you said, and you can bet on it, but there were so many ramifications. Was it Punk? Was it going to be Cody? If The Rock came in, Gunther, so many different people were like, what if? That's number one. Back to the women's Royal Rumble, I thought it was great. There was a lot of surprises. When you talked about Jordan, she maximized every second she was there. I thought she had, and this isn't because I work in TNA, I thought she had the best showing for someone while she was in there. She maximized every moment, and she had a perfect Royal Rumble, even on her exit. Loved the ending, and I loved how they showed, from both the women and the men, the ramifications once they were eliminated. Like, I literally could have changed my life forever, and now I'm not. I'm not going to WrestleMania. Now I have to battle within, which
Right.
then leads you to Elimination Chamber. For the guys as well, same thing, some great moments. Unfortunately, CM Punk got hurt. Looks like it was on the Drew McIntyre DDT, and what a great performance he had against Cody. And a lot of people, listen, when I was there on the ground in Tampa, and then like I saw the release of the video game, and I was just like, with Rhea and Bianca on the cover, and it says finish the story. I'm like, man, they got a video game that, does a lot of views and buys. They could have a real life video game. And I interviewed both of them at the same time.
Yeah.
And then I was like, maybe Bianca's going to get it. Then Cody. And I was just like, Cody, do you have to finish the story at WrestleMania? And he was like, I kind of feel I do. And then I was like, oof. And then he's on the video game. So there's a lot. And then card subject to change, I think, due to Punk getting hurt, would have been a big involvement in Elimination Chamber. Also, Seth Rollins is hurt. Hopefully he will be able to make it to WrestleMania. I believe he will. The meniscus is fine in the sense of you can wear a brace, and he's got a lot of time off. I tore my meniscus when Fatty Bubba pushed me off the stage on my TNA debut. Thanks for that, Bub. And tore my meniscus and had to wrestle said AJ Styles with a torn meniscus. And I did it in 2 weeks off, as opposed to the longer period because he also has an ACL tear, he said, I believe. And that is the one you have to worry about.
Was it ACL or MCL?
Whatever. You got two, so I picked one.
Maybe 50-50 shot.
One makes you go left, right. The other one makes you go front, back.
Ugh. Well, yeah, and because I know the Charlotte also tore her ACL or MCL, so if you get confused, it's a lot.
She tore a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, even again, and we actually, when we have a master's class that'll drop on Sunday, of course, you can listen to Gabby's AF on Fridays, but we talk about missed WrestleMania moments and with injuries or just missed WrestleMania moments. Mark starts to cry. I start to cry. Bubba, he has no soul. He don't cry. It's a little cross-pollination and promotion for our two podcasts here.
Oh, that's great. All right. Well, mine comes out first, so listen to mine on Friday and then listen to the master's class.
That's what
Sunday.
I said, Gabby.
Yeah.
I put you over first.
Everyone's going to cry.
I understand.
I won't make you cry today, though. I want to laugh. We're not going to cry a little bit.
My face is numb. I can't cry.
I know. We already talked about that as well. But I'm just happy I'm not sick anymore. I was sick as a dog doing my podcast with Dave last week, and I hope if people recognize or realize, I had like 103 fever when I recorded with Dave. So
nice.
Yeah.
You're pro. Right now, my entire right side of my face is completely numb, and I have this massive ear pain. I've never had an ear infection or anything wrong with my ear, minus getting hit in my ear.
Oh my gosh.
It does feel like I have been punched in my ear, which I have experienced. I've been chair shotted to my ear. I've been yelled directly in my ear. Thank you, Luke Gallows. And but it does feel good when I stab my face with my fingers like I'm doing. It like relieves pressure, whatever's going on. A lot of weird sickness in the world lately.
A lot of weird shit happening. But all right, well, on that note, back to the Royal Rumble, a great surprise for me, which happened right away and now continued into Raw, is the return of Pat McAfee is a highlight for me. I'm literally obsessed with Pat on commentary. I don't know how everybody else feels about it, but I think him and Cole together, and I thought him, Cole, and Graves at the Rumble was fucking awesome. Just the humor on commentary, the lightness of it, you could just tell they feed off of each other very well, Cole and McAfee especially. Even watching the Rumble, people that didn't know Pat or have listened to him or have watched pro wrestling, like my friends were listening and they were dying laughing at like some of the stuff he was saying. I thought it was crazy that he said they didn't even tell him that they were throwing him in to the Rumble, and he was wearing those like snakeskin boots, and he obviously did the right thing because going up against Omos would have been and Braun Breaker would not have done well for him. But I thought huge deal of him being back on Raw on Mondays, him and Cole, I think is going to completely elevate the commentary on Mondays, and I'm super excited to see it. I love Pat so much. He just brings so much to the table.
I agree. As I think honestly, he may now become the busiest man in pro wrestling. Don't know how he's going to do it with doing Mondays. He does College Game Day, and he does a weekly show on ESPN. I love the Pat McAfee show. I think it's excellent. Here's why. He's an excellent listener. And if you're doing this, you have to listen to your guests. You have to listen to. He also gets people to say things just because he has a comfortability factor for his show. When you're a commentator, I love his energy for the Royal Rumble. I thought it was great. I think there's also a time where you have to learn the greatest. I've done commentary. It's very, very hard. There are times you also need to learn how to lay out. And levity only goes so far. Like he made 2 comments during CM Punk's thing where I was just like, shut up. Because this isn't about you. This is no reactions until Punk stops speaking. Or even in the Royal Rumble when Jordan Grace came out and he's like, police are here. I laughed at it, but it's not where I want to laugh because of that. So there's Jim Ross, who is the greatest. Michael Cole is the greatest as well, but they're, different. But you need to learn how to lay out at times for emphasis because what you're witnessing is great. And I do. I also wish he would just be more of a performer at times because he's had some really, really good to great matches. He probably had one of the best celebrity debuts I've ever seen up until Logan Paul had his celebrity debut. So that's my comment on that. And at Raw, he had stepped on a few moments as well, where sometimes, again, laying out is key. But, man, that guy works so much. I think he may officially outwork Tony Khan because Tony Khan has AEW, the Jaguars, and Fulham, where he's all involved in. And when you're running just one wrestling company, it's a 24-hour job. I know Tony don't sleep much. I would like to see Pat McAfee's schedule and hold it up against Tony Khan's because they're 2 guys who are workaholics, but also they love what they do.
Yeah, I mean, I just think everything Pat touches kind of turns to gold in the sense of he's just good at everything from what I've seen from him. Like when he had that match against Adam Cole, I was like, he should not be this good at this because you have no right to be this good at it. And, we know him. I mean, I met him through booking him before, and he's just genuinely a very positive, nice human being.
Yes.
Like so nice. Not to mention doing all this, he is now married and has a beautiful baby girl. So it's like, just on top of it, he's also a great dad and great husband and good person and does all these million of things. I just think the one thing for him that I gravitate to so much is his energy is just so vibrant. When you're watching Raw sometimes and you're watching match after match or it's a promo and it's, it's 3 hours. So it's a lot. Just to have the energy of that person to, say those things to make you pop or, he's always up on the table or the chair dancing with the crowd because he has so much respect for the cities he goes into and he always hypes them up, which I love. That's what gravitates me towards someone like a Pat McAfee. So I think I look forward to Raw now knowing he will be on the commentary booth with. And I just think Cole is lighter with him as well. I think Cole really enjoys working with him and it can kind of show in their banter.
That I agree.
So
I think also Pat McAfee and I have that same energy, Gabby. I have a lot of energy.
Basically twins. If you and Pat were on a commentary booth together, that would be a dynamic
Shut up, Pat.
duo.
It's time to lay out, Pat.
Pat, good call on that. Tommy, did you see that? Yeah, Pat.
I saw
really
it.
exciting
I'm sitting
stuff.
right here.
Riveting commentary. That's what Dave always used to say when you would say something, and Dave would get super excited or yell or rant, and Tommy would go, "Okay, Dave, yeah, great job." And he'd be like, "Riveting, Tommy. Thanks a lot. Really, really appreciate the energy, bro. I really appreciate it." Bully used to come down on you.
That's why we pay you the big bucks.
That's why we pay you the big bucks, Tommy. But it works. It works. It's just you, and that's why I appreciate you because my energy needs to be matched at some point. And then you tell me if I call you and I'm upset about something. This is also a side note. If I call you and I'm ever upset or I'm like angry or even like excited, you're the best person to call because you go, okay, crazy Gabby, take it down a notch. I'll talk to you later. And that's the whole thing. And I'm like, fuck, am I crazy? Like Tommy just told me in the most monotone voice that I need to calm down. And he's the craziest person I know. So maybe I should calm down.
Good.
So you do a lot
Right
of
on
good.
that force.
You do a lot.
On the yin.
You do a lot of
On
good.
the yang to your yin.
That's scary. That's a scary thing.
Speaking of together, we're finally going to be able to be in the same
Oh my
room
gosh.
for Dave LaGreca's thing. The band's kind of getting back together.
It's crazy.
A lot
LaGreca's
of positive announcements once in texts, and you're all over that social media thing about when you were going to be the host of Dave LaGreca's show.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's LaGreca's Laminated Lists live show.
February 10th.
It's a week from this Saturday, actually. It's the 10th of February at Gramercy Theater in New York City. You'll be there. It's going to be basically the whole crew. It's you, Bully, Dave, obviously. Mark's going to do stand-up, which I'm very curious.
Me too.
To see. I don't think people realize how funny Mark Henry is, but like I have a lot of funny Mark Henry stories because I talk to him so much. He's like subtly hilarious sometimes, but he doesn't even try to be. So I wonder how it's going to be when he actually tries to be funny.
To do with that, yes.
Like, I'm so curious to see how that goes. I don't think he's ever done stand-up before. If he has, I've never heard it. So that's going to be kind of a wild thing. Also, you know when Don, Dave's brother, shows up, it gets wild because the two of them, they're either screaming, yelling at each other. Like, the last time I was in the room with the two of them, they were arguing and they said terrible things to each other, like yelling at each other about things because they're the same person. When they rant, they're the same exact person. Sam Roberts will be there too, who you just did all those live shows with in at the Rumble.
Enjoyed it. What's going to happen if Mark isn't funny and you and I are in like vicinity of each other? How are we going to fake laugh? Or we'll just start laughing if he isn't funny.
Oh, it'll be funnier if he's not funny, to be quite honest with you. First of all, everyone's going to laugh. He's the world's strongest man. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he's going to allow himself to not be funny, but 100% it might be funnier for me and you if he's not. We'll just look at each other across the way. And
yeah, but I can't give the fake laugh. Like, I'm not good at that. I could just nod my head and smile, but I need to pop. You can pop me. I'm good. I have a Netflix movie. If it's a comedy and I pop twice, it's fine.
Tommy, speaking of comedies, do you know what's coming back very soon?
Flora's Lava.
What? What is that?
The floor is lava?
The game? The floor is lava? Like if you are with people and you pretend the floor is lava and you jump around?
You have never seen the show The Floor is Lava?
I've never seen nor heard of that show. I didn't even know that was a thing.
During the pandemic, it got over. It's a fun show on Netflix.
Okay. But the fact that we've never spoken about that show and you threw that at me as if that's what I was talking about, when it's not, because the show that we always talk about, it's coming back for its last and final season, Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Cobra Kai. Oh, I thought you meant Cobra Kai.
I don't watch Cobra Kai.
Well, that's a good one too. Yes, Curb Your Enthusiasm. Larry David. Love it. Love Seinfeld. Love Curb Your Enthusiasm.
So do you know that I'm
awesome?
I'm not a Seinfeld person, but I'm a Curb Your Enthusiasm person, which I think is odd.
I agree, but you are odd.
I am odd.
That's really all I have to say about it.
Well, I don't think...
I'm excited for the new season.
Dude, it's going to be so good. It's season 12. I'm trying to look up the... I think it's this Sunday. It's premiering, the 4th.
Yeah, it's this Sunday.
I'm so fucking excited. But I'm also sad because it's his final season. And it's so good. Mm-hmm. It's so good. It's like one of those shows. It's always good. You don't have to follow it from the beginning to like it, which is why I love it. But I also can't not watch it without hearing you in my head of us talking about how Dave LaGreca is Larry David, because he is fucking Larry David, and people don't realize it.
Yes, he is. There's a lot of Larry David in him. There's tons of Larry David in Christian.
Really? I don't know Christian well enough to know that.
Yeah, he's got a lot of his quirks. It's a great show. I love it. I really do.
Guys, we have a problem. Recent studies have shown that testosterone levels are falling in American men. Low T is linked to depression, low sex drive, and weight gain, so it's important to stay on top of it. You could go to a TRT clinic, but it's expensive, awkward, and in most cases, not necessary. You just need to stimulate your body's own natural testosterone production. It's time to check out the ultimate test stack at LegacySupps.com. The majority of testosterone release occurs while you sleep, which is why the ultimate test stack features their best-selling sleep aid, Recovery PM. Test X9 stimulates testosterone, T-Assist inhibits estrogen, and Recovery PM gives you the best night's sleep you've ever had. You're gonna feel like a new man after trying the ultimate test stack for 30 days. If you don't believe me, check out all the verified 5-star reviews on Top Rated. Legacy Sports Nutrition is founded by 3-time world champion and SmackDown general manager, Mr. Nick Aldis, and 11-time women's champion and future Hall of Famer, Mickie James. And they personally use these products themselves. If you need more assurance, they're NSF certified, third-party lab tested, and made in the USA in an FDA-inspected facility. And because you listen to this show, you can save 10% off your order at LegacySupps.com now by using Gabby at checkout. That's Gabby. That's LegacySupps.com. LegacySupps.com. It's time to level up with Legacy.
Who's got your most podcast views? You? Your segments by yourself? Of all time?
Me? Which is, okay, so this is actually crazy, but my most viewed podcast, most downloaded podcast so far was my very first podcast, where it was just me talking and like introducing the show, which I think is a normal thing. I debuted at number 5 in the United States, which is also absurd.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that was it. And then the second week I had Rick, and then the third week I had Cody. So kind of just grew from there.
Nice.
I think Cody was my second most viewed.
Now you just had Bailey, who just wins the Royal Rumble.
Bailey was amazing. Eddie Kingston was a sleeper pick in the sense of people loved it. I don't know if you've listened. You didn't, because you're not one of my friends that listens to my podcast and calls me.
I don't know how to listen to podcasts.
It's okay.
I had podcasts.
Dave,
I don't even know how to listen to one.
Dave listened to like my first 2 and would call me after and be like, "This was great," and like blah blah, gives me great advice. I don't think he's listened since, but you know,
He also has a lot of.
He's busy.
Yeah, he also listens to every wrestling podcast in the sense of
old
timers, like, so he likes those stories.
Well, I don't think I try to kind of go against the grain in like the typical pro wrestling podcast in a sense. I love talking to people, but I didn't even want that to be the actual original premise of my podcast. Like, I wasn't trying to get a guest on every week to talk to. I just kind of wanted it to be a safe space for all of us to be like, we're cool and we love each other and we love pro wrestling. Let's talk about it and have fun. Like, that's kind of what I talk this way with people anyway. So I was like, why not make a podcast and talk to other people and friends about it, and have, you joining is awesome because I have someone kind of to banter off of that also has the crazy love for it that I do now. And I blame Dave LaGreca for that. And we talked about this as well. He made me a crazy pro wrestling fan, and now I can't get out of this business. This is the love of my life in a weird way. And people don't, I meet guys out, the number one thing when I talk about pro wrestling with the guys I meet, they're like, isn't that fake? And I'm like, don't ever talk to me ever again.
Sweet. When I did the House of Horror, what was the name of my podcast? Something Hardcore Pod. There it was.
I thought it was. Is that what it was?
Yeah. Welcome to the House of Hardcore Podcast, or welcome to the Hardcore Pod. I'm Tommy Dreamer. I don't know, what was it called? Anyway, Gabby, what was my podcast called?
I was on it one time.
The House of Hardcore Podcast.
It was definitely the House of Hardcore. Yeah.
You still could download it. I don't know where, but wherever the podcast stores are.
It's on YouTube too.
My number one and number 2 were Beulah McGillicuddy. So one day I'll let you pull that one out if your podcast gets super duper over, and then she could tell stories of what it was actually like being married to me and like having to
that's the scariest thing I've ever heard
every day with me. So that's a thing. That's when your podcast, maybe when you get like 100 episodes, we'll give you Beulah.
That would be
see
amazing.
The ECW people come out of the woodworks, and you'll make a whole lot of money like I did.
So I don't know if you know this, but this is something I've always thought was super interesting. Now that you bring up, Beulah, it just got my mind racing about it. There's a lot of shows called like WAGs, which is like wives and girlfriends.
Mhm.
And it's the wags, like there's one I think on VH1 or something where it's wags of basketball wives or football wives or something. And it's a big space in social media that a lot of football wives are like are becoming influencers and doing these cool things at game days and showing fits and like kind of how life is. I don't think there's a better space for the wags to have a show than like pro wrestling wives. Not the wives that are pro wrestlers themselves that go in the traveling, but the wives that are married to the wrestlers, wives and girlfriends, even boyfriends that aren't pro wrestlers that are dating women in pro wrestling, to get like a show and see like how they deal with what they deal with, because there's no off season in pro wrestling. It's a lot of space with travel. It's different lives. Some of them are wrestlers that are on different companies that have completely different, separate, you know, with travel and stuff, like, and see the hardships that they deal with and kind of what they have to go through, I think would be such a cool, even to have a couple of them on or something and have conversations of the challenges that you deal with. Because I just think it's such an interesting thing. One person that stands out to me is like Randy Orton's wife. I just think is so cool. And there was like a video clip that Roman said something to her, I guess at like the end of the match, and she like flipped him off or something. And I just fucking love that because she's such a ride or die for her husband. And I just think that's like cool stuff. And these are normal, regular people that aren't wrestlers, but you kind of have to give into the lifestyle and learn so much about it to be married to someone that this is their life and they're traveling every week and you have children with them. And it can't be easy to be married to a wrestler at all. I think it's
No. Well, I'll tell you two things. There was a pitch and she was involved. I will ask her. Hang on. Beulah! Are you even here?
oh my God.
All right. I thought she was here.
This is great radio.
I want to say maybe because I called her by her wrestling name, she's not answering me and she hates me.
100%. Yeah. Or that.
Hang on.
Or the second one.
Teresa! See? Can you come here for a second? I will not show you on camera since you're going to be on Gabby's podcast when she hits her 100th and she needs a lot of money.
Yes.
2009-ish, wasn't there a pitch for you, Linda, Hogan, Karen, Jarrett? Do you remember the other women?
I don't remember the other women. It was for they were doing real wrestling wives instead of the real basketball wives.
Yeah.
That's what I want to. I was just telling Tommy, I think that's a brilliant idea, and I don't know why they don't do that, because they do it.
Linda Hogan was the key. Obviously, her and Hulk were still married at the time. Maybe that's why the show kind of went.
Or they had just recently gotten divorced or something.
No, but I'm saying that's why maybe the show got itch-nade. It was you, Linda, and I want to say Karen, Jarrett, and a couple other people. And it was like, hey, we want you. And then all of a sudden just kind of fell through because Gabby was talking about it. So that was around 2009.
That was a thing.
Wow.
It was a thing.
As well as
that would have been so good.
Remember when the home improvement people wanted to come in?
Oh, you know who else was on there? Who else was on there? Who was married to Stone Cold?
Deborah.
She was going to be on there too.
What?
Yeah.
Deborah?
What?
I hate him.
See how I got her?
He's the worst.
She looked at me like, what are you doing, idiot? And then she goes, oh, I realize.
That 10 seconds is what it's like being married to you. We just got a glimpse of it, by the way.
For real.
Tommy. I still think they should do it. I would watch that religiously. You have all this real reality TV shows that are like stupid and bullshit, but that is something like, and pro wrestling never died. Pro wrestling fans would love to see it. I just think that's the coolest idea. And if you threw like boyfriends into the mix or something too, like I think that's cool. Get Ryan Cabrera on there. He's married to Alexa Bliss. That's kind of interesting.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's professional in like another way. Like, I just think that's kind of cool stuff. I would love that idea. I want to pitch it. I want to direct it and pitch it.
The problem is you'd have the wrestlers come in and they try to steal the TV time.
You think so though?
Oh.
I don't think so.
Beulah,
you get the ones that are on TV every
week. Try to steal the TV time or come up with angles or try to book stuff?
It would be the Tommy Dreamer show.
There you go.
That's not a bad idea for a show, but you would get canceled after like 3 weeks because you would do something disgusting.
3 weeks?
Yeah. You'd be on your best behavior to not like eat something gross or...
What did I say I should have ate the other day and you said no? Expired turkey. It was frozen turkey.
Ugh.
But it was like
This
it
is
was
something-
It
November.
didn't smell good.
It was
smell good.
November.
I can't with the
Maybe
things
that's
I
why
eat.
I have
Sometimes
this pain in my jaw.
probably.
What'd you eat?
It hurts again. It's going away. Gabby made it go away, but now it's coming back.
It's because
I miss the times.
Because you walked in. Yes.
That's exactly what it was.
Real Wives of Wrestling.
Real Wives. Yeah, RWOW. RWOW. Real Wives of Wrestling.
Nice.
I'm telling you, book it. E Network, Bravo, where you got Real Housewives of fucking every city in the world. You can't have Real Housewives of Wrestling.
You could be
There's
the
such
host.
a good ring to it.
You could be the host.
I'll be the host. I'll tell. But this is the thing is, if you film the women at home or the men at home when the wrestlers are on the road, the wrestlers won't be able to take over the TV time.
That's true. I don't know any of these shows. I don't watch any of them, so.
You don't watch any reality TV?
No, I watch Swamp People, and I watch Jersey Shore.
And the floor is rough.
You watch Jersey Shore?
That's streaming. Yeah. Old school fan.
Like, still watch it while they're in their 40s doing terrible.
They're in their 30s, and they have families, and they go on vacations together.
Paulie D is like 40-something years old.
Okay, he looks great.
No, he doesn't. He looks like he's 40.
Gabby hates people in relationships and go on vacation.
He's 43 years old, and we're just watching these people get hammered. No,
they don't get hammered. They have children now. It's showing the other side of friendship.
I like Snooki. I like JWoww.
He gets hammered.
Listen, JWoww's dating a pro wrestler. Snooki is a big pro wrestling fan. I can't dislike them. I like them a lot. But
me and Snooki have the same amount of WrestleMania appearances.
Snooki just tweeted at someone. So Mariah, you definitely didn't see any of these tweets, but this just happened. Mariah May called Deonna Purrazzo Snooki. She said like, "Oh, whatever you want, Snooki." And Deonna commented back and was like, "Oh, okay. So someone who's like a businesswoman and famous and doing very well for herself, you're calling me Snooki? That's not an insult." And then Snooki commented on it and was like, "Well, maybe I got to make around again in the pro wrestling world because she's, been in the ring before."
That's awesome.
Imagine she just shows up in AEW.
John Morrison is there. That's who was one of her opponents. Good stuff.
Yeah, I heard she didn't have a great time in the ring. Wasn't she one of like the worst guest appearances? Like, isn't it listed as one of those?
It was okay.
I would love to see Snooki in an AEW ring. Her and Deonna like tag teaming Mariah and Tony. I would root for them. I'm a Jersey girl through and through. Let's fucking go. Deonna looks phenomenal in AEW, by the way. I love how they're presenting her there.
I agree, and I love that her and Taya had a great matchup because they two are great athletes and got to see them kind of go how they used to go in TNA. So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's a big highlight for me. And I was at the show and she showed up in Jersey, and it was amazing for her.
By the way, I just went to look for my cell phone.
And your videos on it.
Yeah.
Okay. That about explains it. But that's also happened to me before. So, by the way, you're looking forward, we're going to text somebody during the podcast?
Yeah. What about me being the digital media champion and having a 13-year-old Android?
Yeah. I've talked about you a lot as a digital media champion, and you can ask Dave. I've mentioned it. I talked to Tom Hanford about this. I think the greatest thing of all time is the fact that you were the digital media champion for as long as you were. And out of everybody in the world that I know, you are maybe the worst human being with technology I've ever met in my life. And the text that you send me, I read Tommy Dreamer because I've just known you for as long as I do, but you don't speak English or proper in the sense for people to be able to understand.
You used to have to interpret my text to other people.
People would be like, well, I don't know what he said. I would be training people at SiriusXM and they'd be like, Tommy just sent me 4 different sentences, but they're not sentences. They have 2 words in each. And I don't know what he's saying. And I'm like, oh, you have to read his text as he's talking.
No
so then I would do no punctuation, no breaks, no grammar, no capital letters. You don't know when one's starting and one's ending.
So one was misspelled. I just kept it.
Yeah. Well, that's my favorite. And then I'd be like, just call him. And then I didn't realize that you didn't really like to talk to anybody except me.
Correct.
So you would always answer my phone calls. We would have good conversations, but I'd be like, oh, you could just call him. If I ever took a day out, I'd be like, you could just call him. And then people would try to call you and you text and say, can't talk. What? What? Can't talk. And they'd be like, Tommy never answers me when he calls. And I go, probably doesn't want to talk to you. Just send him a text of what he needs to know and he'll be there. He'll always be there. He'll show up. Just don't try to talk to him. He doesn't want to talk to you. It's just.
What about,
Digital
I don't think people
champion.
realize, like, one, the fun we had when we're all working together, but, like,
oh,
how sometimes chaotic it is, or
it's insane.
When, I've had to cover shows when I found out, like, my friends have passed away, and, or, like, I don't like the other part when someone passed away and then they got to get guests to try to talk about them, and it's just like, I don't know what to do. I mean, but we have been on some shows that were, or where we just can't stop laughing, and yet we're supposed to be professionals and talk about that, and we really can't because of stuff that happens in the break. And I think a question that I had gotten asked the most was about, like, Dave, is all that stuff real? How he is, his rants.
100%.
And I'll be like, 100%. And I was like, dude, or ask Gabby. Like, sometimes Gabby would be like, what are you doing? Like, she wouldn't, like, get it, especially even in your early days, because, I mean, for your listeners, Gabby wasn't a wrestling fan. She didn't grow up. She was a normal person. And then wrestling
tainted me.
Yeah, sorry. She hung out with all of us on a daily, had to dedicate her entire life to this wrestling thing, and it ruined. She was this perfect flower, and then we took water and drowned her, and then we put her in the sun, and she's like this jaded, beautiful thing if you look for her from afar, but when you get up close, you're like, wow, you now see the Super Bowl is being worked and life being worked.
Yeah. I'm like a cactus, I think. It's a beautiful thing. You know, that's what it is, but I'm prickly on the outside. But isn't, like, the inside of a cactus super like hydrating? Isn't it, like, super good for you because it, like, retains water? I feel like maybe I retain a lot of water.
You do. I've seen you on some days.
Yeah, it's a lot. Now you sound like Bully because he would always call me out. A lot of sodium last night, Gabby. I don't think people realize, as a producer, it's like, especially with pro wrestling, with no off season and with TV on every single week, it's like, okay, Monday, maybe I'll wrap at 5:00, but then I have to watch Raw from 8 to 11 because I can't write the 3-hour show to send you guys out for the next day without knowing what's going on Raw. So it just makes my life easier to watch what you guys are going to be talking about. So you have to kind of involve yourself in it. And then, okay, so you have like 3 hours in between from a 9 to 5 or an 8 to 4, whatever you're doing, to then watch it, take notes, book guests, you know what I'm saying, put stuff together. It's a lot to deal with.
As well as the ever-changing landscape. If you really think about
in
1 week of WWE, really, Seth Rollins gets injured. Netflix deal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Vince McMahon.
Yes.
Royal Rumble. CM Punk.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, highs of highs, the lowest of lows, the highs of highs to another low, and everything's changing. And that's in a week.
It's insane. I don't even think has it been a full week? Yeah, a full week. It's insane. Stuff changes all the time. You got to keep an eye out on news all the time. Unfortunately, deaths happen a lot, which is terrible, but we've dealt with that. Sometimes morning of, sometimes in the middle of the show, and then you have to completely change everything. You have guest booked to talk about, the Royal Rumble, but we're not going to talk Royal Rumble because someone just died, and now we got to move this stuff around, and it's live, and it's just a lot of stuff going on. I don't think, I think people do realize, but I think they don't realize. And you guys have to do it on the fly, so it's kind of amazing. But
have to be like water and go with the flow.
Flow with it. All the water that I retain in my face and hands.
Your face is very thin.
Oh, well,
shoulders.
That's where
you only carried your waist. You only carried your weight really in your lower half.
See, but when I would overeat, or if I ate too much sodium and I get swollen, it was always in my face. I would get the jowls, which is my favorite word, by the way, of all time. The jowls. I would get them all the time. I could always tell. But you brought up Hard to Kill, which I do want to talk about a little bit because before we go, because we have to wrap soon. We're talking way too much.
You booked me.
But I did. I knew this was going to happen, which is fine.
Make it a 2-parter.
A two-parter. Tommy 2 times. Oh, that's from Goodfellas, by the way.
Really?
Is it that the guy with the newspaper?
Yes.
I don't know. Tommy 2 times, and he's like, get the papers, get the papers. That's Goodfellas, isn't it?
Yes, Gabby.
Okay. All right, relax. I just wanted to make sure I was right. And I am. But the appearance of Dolph was super exciting for me. So what should we expect to see out of Dolph Ziggler in TNA now that he's
Well, he is
showed up?
the wanted man. He also showed up in New Japan. He's great. I've known him since pretty much day one. Love that he's here. You're going to see more of Nick Nemeth. The ratings were very, very well. He has some great matches. It's funny I said it on Busted Open when Punk went down there looking for a lot of people to fill in the chamber. This is where they would totally call Dolph Ziggler and be like, yo, dude, we need you in the main event. But you can't do that anymore. Again, interesting times. Trinity, like I said, I knew she was leaving for a while. And I'm super duper happy to see her succeed in the WWE. But now I have Ash by Elegance. And happy to be working with her. We lost Deonna Purrazzo, Trinity. We have Ash. We have Zaya Brookside. We have that's the nature of the business. For Nick Nemeth, he's going to be a great addition. He already has, and I look for more great things to come for him because here's a guy who is in great shape, is a great wrestler, and loves the industry, does not need to wrestle whatsoever, and he continues to wrestle. Why? Because he loves it. And I feel he also has a bit of a chip on his shoulder and something to prove, which is the best type of person that you want in your locker room. And he's also he gives you credibility in your company, as well as he'll show a different side of him because it used to be you had handcuffs. There's no handcuffs with him. I mean, you look at even when he put out his own social media video, like that monster movie or zombie flick that he did on his own for that, it worked. And then even with working with him here, I was like, we've been talking a lot, or traveling together. And again, because we used to, and it's just like, hey, dude, I need you to do this or this. Or he's like, well, what if I did this? I'm like, great. And he's like, really?
Yeah.
And we take ideas. Another great person you're going to see a lot of, Mustafa Ali.
I was just going to say that, yeah.
His promo, I mean, that's a lot out of his mind and, little tweaks here and there, but there was a massive buzz about him. Or even, like I say, Ash by Elegance, who was, the former Dana Brooke, where everyone, and, I even told her this when I was there, everybody came up to me and these are people who work in WWE. Man, you guys got such a buzz. You guys are doing such great things. And then they would go out of their way to tell me how good she was. And I would be like, and this has nothing to do with them, but man, everyone knows how good she was. How come they weren't using her? Same as Dolph.
Right.
And I think we're going to see the best versions of themselves. I got it we were talking about her for Deonna. Out of her own words, she wasn't the virtuosa. She came to TNA and she became the virtuosa. She became everything she wanted to be. And now she's on another platform. Good for her. I couldn't be more than happy for her. Same with Trinity. Trinity was I don't even know if I want to wrestle anymore. I'm thinking of ending it. And then she goes an hour something in the Royal Rumble. And that reaction, that's the beauty of pro wrestling, the natural reaction. And I saw it twice with her. I saw it when she came to TNA in Chicago. And when they started just chanting her, and it was an explosion for her. And the way she put her hands over her face, and then she did the same thing in the Rumble. And it was just man, this is just awesome. And wrestling fans never forget. And they showed their love and they felt the glow for her. And it was an awesome, awesome moment.
So
I loved it. I loved it for her. And then her showing herself, it was almost hey, you had this and you let it go. Appreciate it so, so much. It's the same with John Cena. For all those people that ever booed John Cena, now you understand that, man, I'm not going to have John Cena anymore.
Right.
Sting has about a month left. And Sting is gone. For all those, when I started first wrestling, I wanted to be a cross between Sting and the Great Muta. Both have now retired. There's going to be a time, it'll be like 20 more years when Tommy Dreamer steps away. So you only got 20 more years of me.
That's it.
Yeah, I'll be 72. All right. Or 73.
I don't think you're ever going to retire. I think you're one of those that will die in the ring.
Thanks, Gabby. That's nice.
Not in a bad way,
No,
but
in a good
I
way.
mean that in the best possible way.
Then
like,
I'll get
no.
resurrected. I hope I get pissed. I hope I'm on top of the person when I die and they can't kick out. And I'll go.
I hope you haunt the ring after you die too, so everyone that comes in there, you fuck with them. You know what I mean? Especially Bully. Like you could just fuck with Bully while he's like still there because he's never, he's still in the ring, crushing it too. So it's like
Rob Van Dam.
Oh my God, he was insane on Dynamite last night. I thought he was so good.
Yep.
Like, Billy Gunn looks better than 90% of the people I see on television. He is also not normal in what I see that he can do. But yeah, I mean, I don't see you retiring anytime soon, which I love because I like to see my friends on TV.
I don't even care about being on TV. I love
like
independent wrestling, and I love being out there in any capacity and entertaining.
Yeah,
just the way you can. Because
that's the one thing.
And I've shared this before, but like the hardest parts when I would talk to Terry Funk. We would call him. I'd call him from the car, and I'd call him from locker rooms, and everyone's like, just want to talk to him. And he'd always say, I wish I could be there. I wish I could be with you guys. Because he couldn't. Yeah. He couldn't travel anymore. And he was just like, I miss it. I miss it so much. And here's a second-generation wrestler whose father died in the ring. And, like, that's all he ever knew his whole life. And to not be able to be around it, you miss it. You watch it on TV. Like when I was at the Royal Rumble, I loved it. I was like, man, I miss all this. And yes, I'm still active. And yes, I enjoy my time in TNA, but it was different. It was a much different vibe. When I went to Nassau Coliseum with Don Callis for the AEW show, and I was hanging out with Edge, for a long ass time. And I was like, man, I'm just hanging out with him because I spent so many years on the road with him. But you miss those things because you miss the people. Excuse me. You just burped at the end of my nights.
I was just going to say, we were going to end it on such a good, inspirational, influential note, and you burped, which is not, if that's not Tommy fucking Dreamer, I don't know what else is.
My emotions came out through a burp. No agita.
I'm glad
that was good.
I'm glad it wasn't too numb that you could burp, you know what I mean? And that's the attractive face. We'll make that the thumbnail. Tommy, I love you so much.
Thumbnail? That?
The thumbnail. No, thumbnail's the picture that you make, like when you're saying, like, "Oh, I had Tommy Dreamer on the podcast," or whoever you have, like the guest. That's the picture of their face that I'm going to put.
All right, I learned something new.
I think that's a good one.
That technology.
You'll never have to be a producer, so for like a fucking podcast or anything. So
I like when you put a pin on you pin a tweet.
Yeah, that's completely different, but it's something.
All right, I'm learning.
It's not bad. It's all it takes.
Well, thank you for having me as a guest, Gabby. Love seeing you. Appreciate it.
I loved having you on. I appreciate you coming on, matching hats. We did such a good thing. And I end all my podcasts with I hashtag and I say LYMNB.
What does that mean?
Which it means love you most, no backs. So that's what I say to everybody.
Well,
say love you
everybody's
most, no backs,
supposed to know that? Is that like a thing? Like LOL?
Yeah, I said it on my first podcast, so my listeners know what it means. But I like to tell my guests what it means too, so that when I say it,
isn't that a store, LL Bean?
This is where we're going to end it because I cannot argue with you for this long. I haven't done it in a very long time, and we're going to end on a good note, and we're had so much fun.
Bye, LL Bean, you too.
LL Bean, LYMNB, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Love you most, no backs. Thank you for listening, and we'll be back next week. I hope you have the best, fun, cool weekend.
Great rap, great ending. Best.
I'm not
cool
done.
And LL Bean is LL Cool J's cousin. What?
Okay, everyone, we're going in so that I don't not speak to Tommy for 3 weeks because this is what would happen. But I love you all. Goodbye.
It's about to get Gabby AF.
We about to get Gabby AF, Gabby AF. We about to get Gabby AF, Gabby AF. It's nothing less, cause you rockin' with the best. Now we about to get Gabby AF.